So my weird, messy bun and my ill-fitting shirt says everything that you really need to know about me on this particular day. And one of the reasons why I'm feeling that, like this is my whole ass mood, is because of what we're doing today and how much it kind of hurt to do it. But I thought it would be fun. It was my idea. You guys agreed and thought it would be fun. But it was still my idea. I accept full responsibility for the disastrous journey that we're all about to go on, and I'm going to tell you about said journey in just a minute, I guess. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. Seriously, this shirt is shit. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for day 70 of 365 days of soap. And today, we are doing that little test thing, actually experimenting with fragrances and using their max usage percentage in soap. So full load of fragrance per the things on the bottle or within their data pages in soap. We're doing that. And we are using 3 of the scents that we used for the Marvel soaps, right? And because a lot of those, when we were actually doing them from the Flaming Candle, and I commented that there are always a lot of questions about fragrances and what percentage you should use them at. And it can get confusing for sure, because there's a lot of variation there. Some of them say max use 4%, others max use 100%. And so today we are taking 3 scents that have some pretty decent scent loads on them, the max usage. And so we are going to be testing those for you today. So come join me for this very, very strange ride. All right, party people, you asked for it and we are delivering. We are going to be testing fragrance oils at their max usage rate. Now I picked 3 from the, what line? Oh, the Marvel line that we got from the Flaming Candle and tested them at their max usage rate. Unfortunately, there was not one that was 100% that I could find, but I found one, the Honolulu Sun. Its max usage rate was 26%. And another, which was the Rain one that went into Visions Bar, was 55%. And another, which was something about Sun, I think it was Rockets Bar, is 77% for the max usage. So we are starting out with the Honolulu Sun at 26% of the total oil weight. Now the reason I am measuring out these little itty bitty baby bars with this little itty bitty baby formula is because I don't want to destroy all kinds of perfectly good soaping oils for a test that I know is going to be really a big fail, for sure. So I have said before in videos a lot that the best rule of thumb when it comes to fragrance oils is to stick between like 4 and 7% for your, so there's the Honolulu Sun, for your fragrance of the total oil weight. Now remember, the reason why you measure things out based on the oil weight is because your water weight is completely arbitrary. completely arbitrary, okay? That means that it changes from soaper to soaper based on how you soap. You can have a water reduction, you can have a water addition, and look how weird that already looks in the soap. Now I am using the exact same oil blend for this as we did for all of the Marvel soaps, for all of them. And just putting in that 0.52 ounces, which would be 26% of the oils that are in this little Pyrex, it got super weird and it's getting super thick, super fast. So that's cool. Now we're not going to put any clays or any colors or anything else into these because, we want to control as many variables as we possibly can because that's the important thing in the scientific method. Yes. And unfortunately, we can't control, the fragrance that's being used really because, this one's only at 26%. And so whatever, I wanted to try it with 3 different ones. Okay, so that's test 1, 26%. That is the max usage for this fragrance oil. Okay, so on to the next scent, which is going to be like the Rain and Angelica. We use that one again for Visions scent in the WandaVision bar. And that was a delightful bar. Loved that so much. So Prentice did such an excellent job with that. And that one, its max usage is 55% per the Flaming Candles website. But I think also it says it on the actual label itself, which is super handy. I love it when they do that, for sure. Now, again, for this, I am using the exact same oil blend for all 3 of them, exact same lye, exact same water, and the exact same oils that we use for the entirety of the Marvel line. So we already saw how all of these performed, and really the only one that we had any problems with, and that was soaping everything at about 5% for the fragrance. And the only one that we had a really big problem with, when it wasn't even a big problem, it was a very minor problem. Flaming Candle was actually great. Good on them. Do that. But the only one that we had a problem with was the Juniper for the Nebula portion of the Nabora bar. So all of these 3 performed very well in cold process, to my knowledge. And if I'm wrong, someone will correct me. Probably the Soap Prentice, because this one is hers. So maybe WandaVision was a terrible mess, but I remember it being delightful. And the only thing that was super weird on it was that True Red. And I was not convinced that it was going to go red. And I'll be damned if it did. It was amazing. Anyway, not the point. So we have talked a lot within, the channel and all the things about how saponification happens, right? Now, saponification is between your lye solution and your fatty acids, your oils and your butters, the things which contain fatty acids. And so saponification takes the shortest route to achieve its end goal, okay? You've created a really pissed off solution with your lye and your water. It's very, very angry. It's looking for its pairs. It's not going to find them until it hits the oils and the butters, the fatty acids, and then it starts to bind with a chemical process called saponification. Now, this one, with this 55% of the total oil weight, I had it at a very light trace, just an emulsion really, because I expected it to get thick, just like the Honolulu Sun did. And I will be goddamned if putting in that 55% of the Rain Angelica didn't make it fall out of solution immediately. Oh my God, look at that fly. Stupid fly. Summertime sucks. Wow, that was a big fly. You could see that it had red on it. That was disgusting. It's cool. These are all throwaway bars anyway. And also, it didn't even get into the bar. So it's fine. Still gross, but whatever. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so the amount of fragrance oil there made it fall out of solution. So I took the stick blender back to it, and it's still not at an emulsion. I am convinced of it. This is weird. It is separating. It is looking like tapioca. We have so many problems with this. Now, why? Well, because you're not meant to use the max usage of fragrance in a soap. That's not what it means when it has that. That's not a guideline for how much you should use. It's a guideline for how much safely the fragrance oil has been determined can be used. Make sense? And so, but the thing is, if you put in that max usage into, a batch of any size, really, there's going to be too much fragrance oil and therefore too much in the way for the lye to get to the fatty acid chain, so your oils and butters, and it's not going to saponify. Is, the point of that. Now, this is the final one with the, I don't know what it's called, sun showers, I think. Yes, I think that was the Shuri, the one that we use for Shuri. And that max usage is 77%. That's cuckoo bananas. And this is already so big weird because I'm just wasting so much money. And wow, cool. Even my stick blender is revolting. It knows what's going on right now. And it's like, what are you doing? This is not okay. This is some weird Bush League shit. But, to that, this is not, this is a common question with beginning soap makers. Like, let's say you've always used Brambleberry and you use her fragrance oil calculator to determine how much scent you need for all of your batches, right? Cool. But then you decide you want to branch out and you go to like Nurture Soap. And Nurture Soap has all of the max usage on their label there. And you're like, well, what the hell is this? Does this mean that my bar is not going to be well scented if I soap it at 5%? Should I soap it at 25%? Should I soap it at 77%? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Just stick with your normal, anywhere between like 3 and 7% for your fragrance, and you're going to be fine. With the exception of a couple things, like you should pay attention to the actual max usage. If it's less than 5%, you should mix it with something or just avoid it entirely. Because what that is saying is that it's more likely to cause skin irritations and all kinds of problems if you soap it any higher. And that's very, very true of lots and lots of fragrance oils that say the word cinnamon. There is a beautiful scent from Nature's Garden that's called like Witch's Brew or something. And its max usage is 1%. And I'm like, well, you can just use that to make candles then, right? And that sucks because it smells like a fireball. And it's delightful, but you can't use it in soap. Now, with this 77%, it immediately fell out of solution. My stick blender is big mad at me. Big mad at me that I'm making it do this. It knows the difference between emulsified soap, between a good soap recipe and a bad one. And it's telling me right now, you need to stop. And I'm going to keep going. And I will apologize to my stick blender later. And, give it lots of nice batches. Well-formulated batches. But that is gross. No amount of stick blending in the world is going to force that into a stable solution. It's just undone. There is nothing to be done with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour it, probably, I guess. Like, it's gross. That's so gross. That's nasty. Yeah. So, again, I think the whole point of all of this is to basically ignore your max usage unless your max usage is less than what you were intending on using it at. And again, you stick between that 3 and 7% for your fragrances, and you should be good to go. But, let's see how these things set up and try to saponify. So for these, I actually let them set up for about 5 days before I even looked at them again. I did not put them in the oven for C-pop or gel or anything. I just left them out on the counter. And, well, that one I thought was going to be pretty decent. And look at that. 4 days later, it is not saponified. It is wet and soft and wrong. And honestly, it looks like a lye heavy bar. Remember that video I did? What does lye heavy soap look like? Yeah. It also looks like soap that isn't properly, never hit an emulsion, because basically it didn't. Again, the Lye solution is going to take the path of least resistance to the fatty acid chains. For sure. Now that doesn't look too bad. That's interesting. Oh, no. We've got some problems. Yeah, no, that's a messed up bar soap. I would say that would be, I mean, it's a great consistency for soap dough, but don't use that for soap dough because there's a massive amount of scent in there. I mean, I guess you could use it for soap dough. I'm keeping this around for a while, like all of these bars. Well, they're just going to be like circular whatever, just to see what it continues to do. Because again, technically speaking, it should not be lye heavy. I know I'm working this out in my head. It might still be lye heavy. It's not burning my hands with all of this, but also people think that my hands are burning when I touch soap that's 12 hours old and is a proper batch of soap because they don't understand things. But yeah, so it's not hurting my hands, but at the same time, I'm trying to suss this out. If the fragrance oil is messing with the lye and the oil's ability to saponify, that is a mess. That is straight fragrance oil that is seeping out of that. That's why one of the hands just went away. I had to smell my hand. That is straight fragrance oil seeping out of all of that. That is a big gloppy mess. Didn't burn my hands though, because, you know, technically speaking, it's at a safe skin rate. That 77% max. But yeah, no, I still won't use these for soap dough. I wouldn't do something like that with it. I would just chuck something like this. If you mess up your fragrance and you put too much scent in and you end up with weird bars like this, I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't try to turn into something else. I honestly wouldn't even do something like rebatch this. Could you? Yeah, I suppose you could. I wouldn't. I would just call it a lost cause for this guy and not risk it because that's weird and gross. And now you have some visuals about what happens when you actually use fragrance oils at their max allowed skin thing. And yeah, it's weird. And that is day 70. Hope you had fun. And there you have it, 3 very weird bars of soap. And I knew that was going to happen. And the reason why I knew that was going to happen is because I've talked about it a lot within the videos over the last, year and change or whatever, about how saponification, that actual chemical reaction between your fatty acids and your lye solution sort of happens around everything else you put into the soap. And then so that kind of gets trapped inside that bond-ish, kind of like a honeycomb, right? The oils, the fragrance oils, they don't go through saponification like regular oils and butters that have actual fatty acid chains. And so when you max load it with those amounts, yeah, the bar's never going to fully saponify. And even if it does, I personally wouldn't trust that. I wouldn't sell it. I wouldn't even try to rebatch it. You could. You definitely could. But I wouldn't do it. I would just throw it away, which is exactly what's going to happen to these soaps in a while. I am still going to let them sit just, on a shelf for a while and test them and mess with them for months just to see what happens, because that's my brain and what I like doing. So as soon as I'm done and my curiosity has been satisfied, they're going in the bin for sure. But that's the thing that you need to keep in mind when you are dealing with different fragrance companies, right? Because every fragrance company does things a little bit differently. Brambleberry, for example, if you've been just using Brambleberry scents your whole life, and they have the fragrance calculator there, so you know exactly how much to use because you can plug in their fragrance into their calculator and they tell you. But then you move over to like a nurture soap or a flaming candle or whatever, and then you start seeing front and center on these labels what the max usage is, and it gets confusing. It's like, well, does that mean that I have to use it at this amount in order to have a really, potent, nice smelling bar of soap? No, you shouldn't do that. Just go ahead and stick with the range between like 3, 5, 7%, like in that range for most all things, and you're always going to end up with a really well-scented bar of soap, and it's not going to be a big-ass mess like these ones totally were. So, there you go. There was some cool tests and some information and all that jazz, and I hope you liked it. What did you think of those? That was weird, right? Yeah. I am so grateful to my sudsers who are here with me today for another day of 365 days of soap. As always, you guys are amazing, and I appreciate you every day. And that will never stop being true, for sure. I'm out of here for today, but I will see you guys all again tomorrow for another round of soapy fun. Bye.